All right, ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome to another day of Unit 2. And today we're starting on our final subsection of Unit 2, which is enzymes. So let's talk about these very specialized proteins that control all the chemical reactions in our bodies. Let's talk about enzymes, baby. Enzymes. So what are enzymes? Well, we're about to find out. Enzymes are the controllers of all chemical reactions in our bodies. A word that we use interchangeably with enzymes to describe the effect that they have on chemical reactions is called catalyst. So you may have heard of a catalyst in history class as like a catalyst for a world event. And what a catalyst is the cause or the instigator. And enzymes help speed up and start chemical reactions in our bodies. And another thing that is important to note is enzymes are proteins. So enzymes are proteins. Remember, not all proteins are enzymes, but all enzymes are proteins. All right, let's continue. What are enzymes? So we just said that enzymes are the controllers of all chemical reactions in our bodies, but what is a chemical reaction? So let's take a look here. That was some Diet Coke, and he's sprinkling in either some Alka-Seltzer or some Mentos dust. And we can see there's some bubbles forming, and now boom. And that Diet Coke and those Mentos have changed states completely into something new, different, and unrecognizable. There was also a lot of carbon dioxide off-put from that chemical reaction, but that is an example of chemical reaction. If you've ever put Alka-Seltzer in a cup of medicine, that is an example of a chemical reaction when the Alka-Seltzer begins to dissolve in the medicine. If you've ever made Kool-Aid and put the Kool-Aid powder in the water, you may be thinking to yourself, like, how do you make the Kool-Aid? Like, what is the actual process? It involves stirring. If any of you have ever been trying to make a really big batch of Kool-Aid, you know that sometimes you heat the water up a little bit. And why do you do that? Temperature is very important to chemical reactions. It helps control the rate of chemical reactions, which we'll talk about. But we heat up the water so that the sugar and the Kool-Aid powder dissolve more quickly, and then you cool it later so that it is a nice homogeneous mixture, different from the water and Kool-Aid powder that you started with. So let's get a definition of a chemical reaction. A chemical reaction is the change of a substance into a new one that has a different chemical identity, often not reversible. So for this introductory reading, I want to show you guys this GIF. So this is the substrate, and this is the enzyme trying to fit into this sort of lock and key active site and enzyme pairing, and you can see that once the correctly shaped enzyme is able to enter the substrate, they pair together and the reaction occurs. So the introductory reading. So this is on your notes sheet, not on my screen right now. What would happen to your cells if they made a poisonous chemical? You might think that they would die. But in fact, your cells are always making poisonous chemicals. They do not die because your cells use enzymes to break down these poisonous chemicals into harmless substances. So enzymes break down these poisonous chemicals into harmless substances. Enzymes are proteins that speed up the rate of reactions that would otherwise happen more slowly. The enzyme is not altered by the reaction. You have hundreds of different enzymes in each of your cells. Each of these enzymes is responsible for one particular reaction that occurs in the cell. So because the enzymes are so specific, they have a specific shape. And the way we usually refer to that shape pairing is by calling it a lock and key, right? All right. So based on that short reading, and on your paper, the reading passage appears right above these questions, so please underline or highlight where you found your answer. But what is an enzyme? Enzymes are proteins that speed up the rate of reactions that would otherwise happen more slowly. Are enzymes altered or changed after a chemical reaction? No, and that is important to their longevity in our bodies. So part B, notes. We got enzymes and substrates, and you can see there, in this GIF, a competitive inhibitor, so something that goes into the hole meant for the enzyme, meant for the substrate, excuse me, and it is important to note that, all right, so hold on, I'm gonna do a little drawing. So, all right, we have here this image, this big space here, this is the enzyme, okay? And you can usually tell it's the enzyme and not the substrate because the piece depicted is usually larger. So the enzyme is the lock in this example, and the substrate is the smaller piece, the substrate that's gonna fit right into this piece. And let's do it a different color. The substrate is the smaller piece, and that is the key. And so as you can see, enzymes can both separate the substrate into two different parts, into its constituent parts, or the enzyme can synthesize or pair the substrate into a new compound. And so what that is chemically changing the substrate either by breaking it up into its constituent parts or by synthesizing a new compound. All right. Enzymes, the controller of all chemical reactions in your body. Chemical control of enzymes. At all times, there are billions of chemical reactions taking place in any organism. All organisms, therefore, need to control these chemical reactions that make up metabolism. So metabolism is a word that we've talked about before, and metabolism is a word that means sum of all chemical reactions occurring in our body, which includes the digestion of food, which is usually the context which we hear metabolism discussed. But this involves all of the chemical reactions that make up a very important state of a stable internal environment known as homeostasis. Enzymes are the principal regulators of most chemical activity in living systems. So all organisms therefore need to control these chemical reactions that make up metabolism is your blank, and enzymes are the principal regulators of most chemical activity in living systems. There we go. At all times, there are billions of chemical reactions taking place in any organism. All organisms therefore need to control these chemical reactions that make up metabolism. Enzymes are the principal regulators of most chemical activity in living systems. Oh dear. There we are. Enzymes control chemical reactions and therefore control metabolism. So enzymes control chemical reactions and therefore control metabolism. There are over 2,000 known enzymes, each of which is involved with one specific chemical reaction. So these are very specific proteins. Enzymes. Enzymes are proteins. Enzymes are referred to as organic because they are organic molecules. Remember, they're proteins, so they include carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, and nitrogen. And they're organic catalysts. And remember, catalyst means to like kick off or to speed up. And in this case, we're talking about speed up chemical reactions, baby. So that's what enzymes are all about. Catalysts, inorganic or organic substances which speed up the rate of a chemical reaction. So that's what catalysts are, inorganic or organic substances which speed up the rate of a chemical reaction. And examples of chemical reactions are dehydration synthesis, so that's synthesis, making something new, or hydrolysis, which is splitting something apart with water. So these are examples of some of the chemical reactions that enzymes speed up in our bodies. Catalyst is an inorganic or organic substance which speeds up the rate of chemical reactions. And now we're going on to structure. So we can see here in this image the enzyme and the substrate, which is represented by the lock and key model. The substrate is usually the smaller piece, and when they bond together, they form this new compound called the enzyme substrate complex. So the structure of enzymes. Enzymes are large, complex proteins, a key concept. What are enzymes? Enzymes are proteins. Protein. All enzymes are either protein or are proteins with non-protein parts called coenzymes. Coenzymes are often vitamins, right? So vitamins are not proteins, but they do help our enzymes control chemical reactions, which is why it's important that you get all the vitamins that are recommended to be contained in our daily diet, because they help our bodies speed up these chemical reactions that are involved in our metabolism and maintenance of homeostasis. All right, last thing. Enzymes are named according to the substrate they are specific to. And substrates are the chemicals that each enzyme acts upon. But all of our enzymes have this unique naming convention. They end in ASE. So you guys might remember, like sugars end in OSE, O-S-E. Enzymes end in ASE, A-S-E. Example of naming. The enzyme maltase breaks down or acts upon the substrate, the disaccharide maltose, and it breaks it into two monosaccharides. So maltase acts on maltose, and you can see the sugar is broken apart into two monosaccharides by the enzyme, maltase and maltose. The enzyme peptidase breaks the peptide bonds in proteins. And peptides, you may have seen peptides is another word for proteins. So peptidase breaks the peptide bonds in proteins. And usually enzymes end in ASE. And that is all I have for you today, ladies and gentlemen. Please don't forget to complete the exit ticket. There is also a short Amoeba Sisters video on enzymes that is linked at the bottom of your guided notes. And today's aim was, what are enzymes? And you want to remember that enzymes are proteins that control all chemical reactions in our bodies. All right, that's all I have for you today, guys. Have a great weekend and see you Monday on Zoom. Bye.